Welcome to the 3 adoption myths everyone believes but shouldn't. Learn what's actually true and the exact steps to bring your child home while avoiding delays, confusion, and costly mistakes. You're here because adoption is on your heart, preferably yesterday, right? Most families in your situation have already been through some stuff and are eager to bring home their precious child. But there's a problem. Instead of dreamily picking nursery curtains, you're listening to horror stories about your friend's cousin's stepsister who spent 5 years and $85,000 trying to adopt and still hasn't succeeded. Good news, you are in the right place to make sure that isn't you. Slide into a comfy chair, grab your coffee or wine. I'm not judging, because today we're tackling the 3 adoption myths everyone believes but shouldn't. By the end, you'll know what's exactly true and have the exact steps to bring your kiddo home while avoiding delays, confusion, and costly mistakes. Here's what I'm covering today: the 3 biggest myths in the adoption process. Myth number 1, the adoption process is an impossible maze of never-ending paperwork and random rules. Myth number 2, adoption will cost you everything: your house, your car, and maybe even your financial future. Myth number 3, adoption takes forever and you'll just have to wait. But before I dive into each of these, you're probably wondering who I am and why should you be listening to me. I'm Stephanie A., and I know firsthand, secondhand, and maybe even thirdhand what it's like to be in your shoes. I didn't plan to work in adoption. I started in social work supporting young women facing unplanned pregnancies. After grad school, the only job opening was in adoption. I said, I don't know anything about adoption. And they said, you'll learn. And they were right. Years later, adoption became personal when we adopted our daughter, Shayla. My husband and I already had 4 kiddos. But when the call came about a little 8-year-old girl who needed a home, we said yes. That experience, professionally and personally, taught me what actually matters. Adoption works when you have the right information and support. Falling into adoption and finding my purpose. Here's my credibility in a nutshell. I have had decades as a licensed social worker. I founded and run a non-for-profit child placing agency called Adoption and Beyond. I have helped thousands of families just like you adopt. I'm an adoptive mom myself, and I believe adoption isn't easy, but it shouldn't be overwhelming. For years, I have watched families struggle with adoption jargon, paperwork, conflicting advice, and costs that exploded post-COVID. Most people genuinely fear they'll never bring a child home. Here's what I know with absolute certainty. It's not about luck. It's about strategy, clarity, taking the right steps at the right time. That's what I'm sharing with you right now: how to outsmart, avoid, and overcome the 3 adoption myths everyone believes but shouldn't. At the end, I'll show you the 3 ways we can turn what you learned today into action, with free strategies, resources, and support to help you avoid delays, confusion, and costly mistakes. So let's dive in. Myth number 1, the adoption process is an impossible maze of never-ending paperwork and random rules. Everyone says this: your neighbor, your coworker, that random person in the Facebook group who types exclusively in all caps. Here's the truth. There is a clear path to successful adoption. You just can't see it yet. Think about hiking somewhere completely new. You've never been there. You don't have a map. You don't know what the trail markers mean. 5 minutes in, you're lost. That's adoption without guidance. Now, imagine the same hike with a friend who knows every trail, has a detailed map, and can read the markers in their sleep. Same hike, completely different experience. Successful adoptions follow a step-by-step process that thousands of families have used. You don't need a PhD in logistics or the patience of a saint. You need a guide who actually knows the terrain. Good news, I've been that guide for thousands of families. More on that later. Myth number 2, adoption will cost you everything: your house, your car, maybe even your financial future. So you're poking around online and see that adoption can cost up to $85,000 plus dollars. Yep, you heard me right. And you're wondering if you need to sell things, important things. Here's the secret that Google and Insta feeds won't tell you. There's an entire network of funding available, everything from grants, tax credits, and options most families have never heard about. Families I work with can often fund half or more of their adoption costs just by knowing where to look, not by going into debt, not by selling plasma, but by tapping into existing resources. It's like standing in your kitchen and saying, there's nothing to eat when the fridge is full. You just need a strategy so you know where to look and how to put it all together. I'll let you know about a resource later that has my full list of funding options, actual resources with instructions on how to make adoption financially doable. All right, the final myth. Myth number 3, adoption takes forever and you'll just have to wait. Ouch, discouraging much? We've all heard the stories. We waited 5 years for our adoption to go through. And yes, long waits can happen, but that's not the norm or the whole story. Here's the reality. You can take control of your timeline. The difference between people who adopt quickly and those who wait for years often comes down to this. The ones who move faster take strategic, proactive steps. The fastest adoptions don't happen because you have the biggest budget or the perfect life. They happen because you get your paperwork right the first time, create a genuine profile that actually connects with birth families, understand what birth parents are looking for, and how to build that real relationship with them. With the right approach, adoption can move forward in months instead of years. It's like job hunting. If you sit around waiting for someone to offer you a position, you'll be waiting for a very long time. But if you polish your resume, practice interviewing, and consistently apply, you will land something. I wanted to jump back to myth number 2 real quick because I wanted to be sure I told you something, that you may see that adoption can cost 85,000 plus, but it does not have to. So don't think that that is what an adoption will cost, because that is just so not right. Adoption does not need to cost $85,000. I'm here to tell you that. So don't lose hope. Okay, let's move on. All right, at this point, you might be feeling cautiously optimistic that you can adopt more quickly with less confusion and expense than you expected. But you're probably thinking, is this for real? Where's the proof? Like I said, I've helped thousands of families adopt as a social worker and agency founder. The secrets I share with you today are the first things I share with all of my families. This is step 1 of your new empowered adoption journey. Here's how those families ended up after a few more steps. Drew and Katie successfully crowdfunded $25,000 for their adoption. Their friends and family showed up, and it helped that we gave them time-tested techniques to set up the most successful adoption crowdfunding campaign. Jessica and Brandon weren't sure about crowdfunding, so they did fundraising instead. We gave them lots of tried and true ideas that our families have used, and they raised $15,000. And if you're thinking fundraising and crowdfunding won't work for you, don't worry. Our families regularly get over $5,000 in grants after we give them our 5-page list of grants and show them how to write stellar proposals. And for tax credits, as long as you make less than $300,000 a year, you can expect a big one. The tax credit increases each year. Currently, it's a whopping $17,670. How about time? Well, I've had some amazing stories. Mitch and Alice had barely finished their home study when they got chosen, just 2 days after posting their profile. Rick and Christine waited 2 years with another adoption agency before coming to us. After we posted their new and improved profile, they got chosen. And get this, they had their baby. They got chosen in 5 hours, and they had their baby in their arms the very next day. The same thing happened to Anna and Greg. They waited years with a consultant, and the first time our agency presented them, they were selected. And yes, those stories are exciting, but they don't happen every time. They were definitely lucky, but it wasn't only luck. They also had everything they needed, a strong profile, all the paperwork sorted, and everything in order. When you follow our system to do all of that, you won't always get chosen within days, but you'll often be selected within less than a year. As I'm recording this, the last 10 adoptive families waited less than 3 months. Now, I'm not making that promise, but I just want to tell you what has happened recently. These kinds of numbers and experiences are possible when you follow our process and never give up on your adoption journey. You will bring your kiddo home, usually faster and more easily than expected. I want this to be your success story too. These timelines aren't guarantees, but they show you what's possible when families are prepared and informed and supported. Best of all, you'll feel confident and supported throughout with a step-by-step plan that lets you hit the ground running. Here's what just a few families have said. George and Angela stated, Stephanie's experience, attention to detail, and kind understanding made our adoption journey comfortable and smooth. It's clear that she understands how foreign this process can be for some and was always available to provide answers and information and assistance. Richard felt home study ready. Stephanie and her team were beyond helpful in facilitating our adoption. Even as questions come up over the years later, we can always reach out and trust they will help us. Elizabeth and Ken felt we fostered a healthy environment. The support and education that is provided by Adoption and Beyond with their newsletter, videos, and guides, blog posts, and email responses to our questions made us feel supported. Heather and Tim felt we were so helpful. Thank you so much for checking on us, answering our questions, and helping us navigate who to ask and what to ask when everything is happening. Greta and Brandon felt supported. Adoption and Beyond has been amazing to work with during our adoption process. They were so informative and supportive as we were brand new to the adoption realm. I can't say enough good things about our journey using Adoption and Beyond, and we would highly recommend them. All right, you might be feeling some excitement and hope. Are you ready to start researching adoption grants from a curated list, choosing your trusty guide, and speeding up the timeline? I sure hope so. If you were feeling overwhelmed and worried at the beginning, I hope you're feeling excited and ready to roll right now. My goal is to get you out of the waiting and struggling phase as quickly as possible and into the lullabies and snuggling phase. We've got you off to a good start already, but adoption isn't straightforward, and to give you all of the knowledge and secrets would take more than this webinar. So let me introduce to you your Adoption Success Path Simplified. This program gives you everything you need to navigate adoption process, split into 7 steps that will get you ready for adoption in just 90 days without losing your sanity or your life savings. And the best part, it's free. We're going to give this program to you for free if you decide that you want to take it. All right, so let me show you what is in the program. Let's break it down. Step 1, preparing for adoption with a solid foundation. This is where most people spiral into Pinterest panic mode, thinking they need the perfect nursery, the perfect marriage, the perfect everything. Spoiler, you don't. What you do need is practical preparation. We're talking about the boring stuff, but the important stuff, like getting your finances organized, having honest conversations with your partner about expectations, and yes, making sure your home is safe and ready. But you can skip the performative perfection and focus on what actually matters. I'll walk you through exactly what the adoption professionals are looking for and what they're not, so you can prep efficiently without turning your life upside down. Think of it as adoption proofing your life. Step number 2, choosing the right adoption pathway for you. Here's what nobody tells you up front. There are multiple pathways to adoption, each with a different timeline, costs, and levels of control. You've got domestic, agency adoptions, self-networking, embryo, foster care, and international adoptions. Each has pros and cons, and most families don't even know that these options exist until they're already knee-deep into one pathway that isn't even the right one for their family. In this step, I break down each pathway in plain English, what they cost, how long they typically take, and what you're responsible for, and which ones might be the best based on your situation. Some families choose one pathway, some take multiple paths at once to increase their chances. I'll show you how to decide what makes the most sense for you and how to execute whichever route you choose without wasting your time or losing your mind. Step number 3, becoming approved for adoption with the right prep. The approval process, home study, background checks, references, financial reviews feel like you're applying for the CIA. It's invasive and detailed, and if you mess up, it causes delays that push your timeline back by months. Good news, it doesn't have to be painful if you know what you're doing. I'm giving you the insider playbook for breezing through the approval process. You'll know exactly what documents to gather, how to prep for your home visit with your social worker, and what they're actually looking for. Hint, it's not perfection. And how to avoid common mistakes that trip people up. Most families stumble through this blindly. You won't. You'll walk in prepared, get it done right the first time, and move on to the next step with ease. Step number 4, making the match with cautious optimism. Let's talk about the dark side nobody wants to discuss. Adoption scams are real, and they're devastating. Families lose tens of thousands of dollars to situations that were never legitimate. Birth parents change their mind in legally complicated ways. Contracts aren't what they seem. Laws vary wildly by state, and one wrong move can derail everything. I know that sounds dramatic, but it is absolutely true. This step is your protection. I'm teaching you how to spot red flags early, what questions to ask and verify legitimacy, which legal protections you absolutely need in place, and how to work with attorneys who actually know the adoption law, because shockingly, most don't. I'm also covering the emotional landmines like disrupted adoptions, how to protect yourself legally and emotionally if things don't go as planned. Nobody wants to think about this stuff, but being prepared is what separates families who recover from setbacks from families who get completely derailed. Step number 5, navigating from match to delivery with ease and confidence. You've been matched. Congratulations. Now what? This is where things get real and for many families really awkward. You're building a relationship with someone in an incredibly vulnerable position, and there's no script for this. How much contact is too much? What do you talk about? What if you say the wrong thing? Here's the truth. The strength of this relationship often determines whether your adoption moves forward smoothly or falls apart. I'm giving you the path to success for building authentic relationships, respectful connections with expecting parents. You'll learn how to communicate expectations clearly, be supportive without being overbearing, navigating boundaries, and handling the emotional roller coaster leading up to birth. This isn't about performing or managing someone. It's about showing up as a real human and building trust during one of the most important relationships you'll ever have. Step number 6, transitioning from hospital to home with the right know-how. The baby's here, you're officially parents, and nobody prepared you for what happens next. You're exhausted emotionally, terrified and convinced you're doing everything wrong. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you're worried about whether the birth parents will change their minds after placement. This step is about managing those early days with grace for everyone involved. Here's what I'm giving you. First, the practical pieces. You'll get access to our exclusive hospital to home master checklist, your step-by-step guide for everything from hospital logistics to bringing the baby home. Because when you're running on 2 hours of sleep, you don't want to be Googling, what do I need to do to leave the hospital? Then the emotional pieces. I'll walk you through what to expect emotionally for you and the birth parents, how to handle post-placement contact, what kind of support birth parents typically need during this transition, and how to take care of your own mental health while you're navigating brand new parenthood, plus all the adoption-specific legalities. You'll also learn what's normal, what's concerning, and when to ask for help, because you shouldn't have to figure this out alone at 3 a.m. while your baby is screaming. Step number 7, finalizing your forever family with lasting connections. You've made it this far, your child is home, but legally, you're not quite done yet. Finalization is the court process that makes your adoption permanent, and it has timelines, requirements, and paperwork that vary by state. Miss a deadline, and you could delay finalization by months. I'm breaking down exactly what finalization looks like, what documentations you need, how long the process typically takes, what happens in court. Spoiler, it's usually the happiest day ever. And what to do if complications arise. By the end of this step, without unnecessary stress or delays, and then you're done, legally, permanently, officially a family. This is where we celebrate with tears streaming down your cheeks. Okay, important notes. I wanted to point out that steps 1 through 3 apply to every adoption path, no matter what kind of adoption you're pursuing. Steps 4 through 6 focus on infant adoptions primarily, and step 7 applies to all families again. So you're able to jump into this and go to the path and the step that makes the most sense for your kind of adoption. All right. All of this is delivered in bite-sized videos you can watch at your own pace, or you can follow the 90-day guide we have created just for you. You'll get access to the whole video library as soon as you sign up. No waiting, and you can jump to the step that most interests you. I am passionate about empowering adoptive parents, and my goal here is to download all of my experience in my brain after 30 plus years as an adoption professional and to hand it over to you so you can quickly turn it into action. And you're not just getting videos. On the next slide, I'll show you some of the resources you'll get that I wish every family had from day one. And just to reiterate, you're going to get all of this stuff for free. So I hope you take advantage of it. All right, resource number 1, the Ultimate Homesteading Success Guide. Nervous about your homesteading? This guide shows you exactly what to expect and how to prepare. It's like having a practice step. It's like having a practice test before the real thing. Resource number 2, the Adoption Funding Resource Directory. Are you worried about finances? This guide can help alleviate concerns. It includes 20 plus grants, loans, and creative funding solutions you may not have even known about. Think of it as your personal funding treasure map. No more endless Googling. Resource number 3, the red flag checklist and match meeting question guide. You'll never stumble through a match meeting like you're on an awkward first date again. This guide gives you all the right questions to ask without sounding like you're conducting a job interview. Lifetime access to the resources. That's resource number 4. Adoption isn't linear. You might breeze through the modules early on and then need to revisit them months later when you're actually in that stage. You may get matched faster than you expected, and suddenly you need this information you thought was weeks away. Or life happens and you pause your journey for a time. With lifetime program access, you're covered. No expiration dates, no lost access. Plus, you keep the access to the community. There's a community that's part of this program as well. You're not just getting the content, you're staying connected to other families on the same journey, sharing experiences, asking questions, and supporting each other for as long as you need. Real scenarios where people came back. Wait, what were those red flags for the match meeting? You can rewatch it before the call. Our finalization is next month. What paperwork do we need? You can review step 7. We're thinking about adopting again in a few years. Use it as a refresher. The bottom line, this isn't a program you rush through once. It's a resource and a community you keep in your back pocket for as long as you need it. No pressure, no deadlines, just ongoing support. Resource number 5, throughout this program, you'll have access to me, someone who can translate adoption speak into plain English. I'm like your personal adoption Yoda without the weird syntax. That's what this program covers, and it's completely free. I built it because I'm being completely honest. The best families any adoption professional works with is an educated family. They make better decisions for themselves, for their child, and for everyone involved in the process. So on to the next few slides. Let's answer a few questions I hear all the time because I know your brain is already spinning with at least 3 of them. Are you a full-service child placing agency? Yes. Adoption and Beyond is a full-service nonprofit child placing agency. We can help you from day 1 through the day you bring your child home. Our 3 main services are Learn. That's the free foundational adoption education program that we're talking about today in this webinar that walks you through the early stages of adoption with a clear path. Prepare. That's the next stage. Everything you need to complete your adoptive home study, the first building block for the rest of your adoption journey. And Complete. Full service domestic adoption support from start to finish, education, home study, placement, and ongoing guidance so you're never doing this alone. Each of these services stand on their own or can be combined as your journey unfolds. I will share more details about each of these after the FAQs. I'm overwhelmed and just want to adopt. Is this program really worth my time? Absolutely. I've taken all my years of experience and turned complex adoption procedures into a simple, proven 7-step framework. Your adoption success path requires just 30 minutes of your time per day and will help clarify and fast track the process. Within 90 days, you could be ready to adopt without feeling defeated, getting bogged down by details, or stressing yourself out. Why should I choose this adoption program above any others? Simple. This is the only free program of its kind, created by a licensed adoption professional with 30 plus years of experience, an adoptive mom, and actively running a nonprofit adoption agency. I'm not teaching you adoption theory. I'm giving you the exact system and insider strategies my agency families use to adopt faster and spend less. Most programs are created by people who have adopted once or not at all, or with no real agency adoption experience. This is the real deal from someone in the trenches daily. And also, others charge for their adoption education. What if I'm pursuing international foster care or embryo adoption? Is this program right for me? The first 3 steps prepare for adoption: choosing your pathway, getting approved, and apply to no matter how you're adopting. International and foster care embryo adoptions, you'll get value from all of that. Step 4 through 6 are specifically designed for private infant adoptions in the United States. Things like creating your profile, navigating a match meeting, and hospital to home transition. If you're pursuing international foster care or embryo adoption, those steps won't apply to your journey. And then step 7, finalizing your forever family, that applies to everyone. So if you're pursuing infant adoptions, this program is built for you from start to finish. If you're on a different path, the first 3 steps and the final step give you a strong foundation, and you can skip the ones in between that don't apply. How can you help me save money? Learn strategies that help families get visibility without paying $85K plus agency fees. Master the funding strategies that actually work. Write winning grants, applications, identify the best funding resources for your situation, and maximize every dollar available. No costly mistakes. Get it right the first time. Get high-end agency results without high-end price tags. What happens after I sign up for your Adoption Success Path Simplified? You can breathe a sigh of relief knowing you won't have to figure everything out on your own anymore. Okay, we've covered a lot today. You now know the 3 biggest myths keeping families stuck, and you understand the 7 steps to adoption. But here's the thing, knowing what to do and actually doing it are 2 very different things. Not because adoption's impossible, but because navigating it alone is hard. That's exactly why the next steps I'm going to share with you matter. You have the information now. I'm going to show you how to help you accomplish your dreams of adopting a child. There's no single right place to start with adoption. Maybe you're just beginning to explore. Maybe you're ready to tackle your home study. Maybe you want someone in your corner from education all the way through placement. All of those are valid starting points. That's why we've designed 3 ways to work with adoption and beyond, so you get the right support for the stage you're actually in, not a one-size-fits-all system that assumes everyone starts at the same place. Option 1 is the learn. This is for you if you're in the early stages of the process and still learning, still exploring, still asking the big questions. Maybe you need your partner on board first, or you're figuring out if adoption is even the right path for your family. You'll get education, clarity, and support without pressure. You don't have to commit to anything else yet. You learn at your own pace, on your own timeline, and this education is completely free because we believe you deserve clarity before commitment. Think of it as structured guidance without the overwhelm. By the end, you'll understand what matters now, what can wait, and how different adoption paths actually work. Option 2 is the prepare. This is for you if you are in Kansas or Missouri and you've made the decision adoption is happening. Now you need to get legally prepared for your home study and actually understand what's ahead. You're done with generic blog posts and ready for the real preparation. You'll get step-by-step home study guidance and foundational adoption education. Everything you need to be adoption ready emotionally, educationally, and paperwork wise. Think of it as getting your house in order literally and figuratively with expert support through the entire home study process. Option 3 is called complete. This is for you if you're all in. You don't just want education and preparation, you want someone in your corner through the entire adoption journey. You'll get everything: education, home study if needed, domestic adoption services, and ongoing support, the whole package. Plus our multiple matching method, our secret sauce for helping you match faster, and a dedicated team by your side from start to finish. Think of it as going from I want to adopt to I'm bringing my child home with expert guidance every step of the way. So, those are the 3 starting points, and whichever one feels right to you, I want you to know the expertise of who's going to be on the other side of that decision. We've completed over 7,000 home studies and guided more than 8,000 birth and adopting families over nearly 3 decades. This isn't theory, it's real experience. We translate adoption jargon into plain English, help you avoid costly mistakes, and support you well beyond placement. Thank you so much for being here today. If you're ready to take the next step, take a look at the links below this video and choose your starting point. I'd love to work with you.